Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. It's time again for one of my favorite videos to do on the channel. This one's just so fun to talk about. It's one of the most hyped things about Yu-Gi-Oh! When it shouldn't even be. Listen, we are months and months and months behind the OCG when it comes to when we actually get cards, but we're in this position. So the best we can do is do the best with what we got, and with that we have to go forward saying it's still fun to look at future decks and just kind of make our own personal lists on what we're most excited to play in future formats. So that's what today's video is. I have 6 different decks that for me are like the 6 decks that I for sure am going to build in one way or another. Varying ranges of competitive level. They're all at least roguish to higher. But yeah, these are just my personal picks that I've been eyeing up for a while now. When we get them, I'm going to build them. I'm going to play them. I'm really excited for it. I also have a couple of honorable mentions. Let's just start with those before we jump in. Keep in mind, this is also my list, so I'd love to hear your guys' lists down below. However many it is, I want to hear what your guys' favorite archetypes upcoming are to play. And yeah, let's get into this thing. So honorable mentions. There's a couple here where like these are archetypes where we just don't have enough information yet, but I could see myself falling for them. The first one's Ancient Fairy Dragon. We got the first wave in Alliance Insight. It's a good first wave. Gotta see more. It's not there yet for me, but I do like Ancient Fairy Dragon. AFD and Black Rose are my 2 favorite signer dragons. I don't even like dragons, but because they're really cool takes on dragons, I like them. And so yeah, I just need to see a strong second, maybe even a third wave from AFD, the archetype, and I'll be on board, but not quite there yet. Next up, Yummy. This is just one of the new archetypes we have no information about, other than that it's a light beast synchro strategy. That's it. These 2 archetypes may in fact end up being played together, but until we actually have the first reveals for Yummy, I'll have no idea. Keep in mind, I'm a player who likes to play mid-range to control kind of strategies. I don't really like super combo-y decks, so that's why these decks don't really like, those decks don't really apply to me. So if this archetype gets revealed, or any of these really, and then it being like super crazy combo decks, I'm probably out. I may like the design of the artwork and everything, but yeah, if it's super combo, it's probably not for me. Next up, you have K9 number 17, Ripper. This is just K9, the archetype. Cool archetype. All we really know about it is that it's an Xyz based archetype. That's it. So same thing as Yummy. All we know is like what the extract mechanic is for the archetype. So again, once we have more stuff revealed, I could you tell me there's a new archetype and it's Xyz based, I'm already raising an eyebrow like, oh, Johnny might be interested. Depends on where they go with it. I liked Ryziel a lot, but because Ryziel was best deck in the game, it's being played by everybody, and I just don't want to play a deck where everybody is counter decking you, as well as you're just playing a bunch of mirror matches. I'm just not about that. So I don't want to play best deck, but like I do like Xyz based decks. And the last honorable mention is Odeon. This archetype by far is the leader in the clubhouse if they execute it decently to make it onto the list for me. Keep in mind, this is getting revealed probably at the end of the month or maybe early March. It's trap monster based. Love that. It's Egyptian based. Love that. Odeon's a really cool character. Love him. And I'm a little bit nervous because the last 2 archetypes from the 2 years prior for this set, but like the last 2 years, flopped completely. Flame Swordsman and Gate Guardian were terrible. They're not good. So I'm a little bit nervous this archetype could just be poo. The one thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that the last 2 TCG exclusive archetypes we've gotten in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are Mitsurugi, legit like top tier strategy, and Mimigul. Like, while not a top tier strategy, like most people will say, like, that's a respectable rogue deck. That deck does some scary things. And for that, it gives me a little more hope that it seems like Konami's in the direction right now, at least Konami TCG, of making more competent TCG strategies, because it makes their version of the game more interesting. If there's new archetypes with their poo, then you might as well not make them for the competitive players, because they're just not going to do anything. Nobody's going to play them. So hopefully that's the direction we're in. I have hope, but those are the honorable mentions, getting those out of the way. Let's get into our top 6. These are probably in order. I would say the top 2 that we'll get to at the end, those to me are in a whole nother tier. I'm the most excited for those 2. I'm still excited for these other 4, but those other 2 are like, could be my mains going forward kind of thing. So anyway, number 6, we start with Punk. They get the 2 brand new cards from the Trinity box in the OCG. They're awesome. Trinity box was crazy. It went so crazy this year. But anyway, they get Rising Scale, really awesome main deck extender, and Jam Fever, a really awesome Exceed monster that can just overlay on top of any other Punk Extract monster, basically. This card is either a monster negate or a draw. And if you make it with both materials, it can be both. So really cool card. It helps the deck with Nibiru. It just helps the deck put up easy extra interruption in general anyway. And card's cool. I like both these cards a lot. And then you also add into the fact that after that support, they got Jura the Cursed Thunder Deity. This is, excuse me, technically a generic synchro, but this deck is one of the very few synchro decks ever that really actually makes 11s really easily. And so since you're able to make 11s, you look at this card and you go, oh, this is just a walking Raigeki. This is, and it's a quick Raigeki on the opponent's turn. So again, 3 really nice pieces. I really like the idea of this deck of just being able to play like 15 to 18 non-engine. You do what your deck does. You have your field spell that draws you 2, and maybe even the Exceed to draw a 3rd card every turn. And so even if you're not ending on a crazy Punk board, you might just have 3 to 4 non-engine cards in hand. And you're just like, I have 3 to 4 hand traps, dude. Come and get it. And you can still win duels that way. So cool deck. I like it. Next up, Marincess, number 5. This one's interesting. It doesn't get nearly as many cards as some of these other archetypes do. It really only gets 1. It kind of gets 2 because of how it works. But yeah, the new card is Trickstar Aqua Angel. I know it's a Trickstar card. This card always counts as a Marincess, so you're fine. This card's crazy. This card is out of this world good. This card is a really good extender for Marincess anyway. Marincess just has been looking for years for just more named level 4 extenders. That's really what they've been looking for, because Bahamut Toad is just a must-have in this deck. And for the longest time, they didn't have enough level 4 names, so they just couldn't get 2 4s consistently on board to like fulfill that. And Spring Girl was a really nice addition. Aqua Angel, another really wonderful addition. So I love it. On top of that, this card lets you look at your opponent's hand when it's used as link material, which is very, very key for an archetype like this. This archetype is very low ceiling. So being able to look at your opponent's hand is, I think, fair enough in a deck like this, because this deck just isn't that strong. The ceiling on it's so low. So it's like, yes, hand knowledge is broken, but in a deck like this, it's one of the few types of decks where I would be like, okay, I guess it's okay. And I like the archetype, so I'm not mad about it. But when you have a weaker board, knowing exactly where you need to throw your interruptions can be really important. So having hand knowledge, even when your board is weak, can still get the job done, because you know exactly what you need to ash. You know exactly what you need to hit with Marincess Wave. You know exactly what you need to use your spell and trap negate on. Whatever you end on, Toad, whatever. And I think that's really cool. So I like this card a lot. It's 1 card. It also makes like Trickstar Light Stage a pretty good consistency / extender card in the deck as well. That's something to note as well. But yeah, I've always liked this deck, and I think this is for 1 card, it's making a pretty big difference in the deck for sure. All right, number 4 on the list for me, Cyber Dragons. This one could have been higher if the support was better. It just wasn't. Clockwork Knight was a really nice addition as a Link 1. That card basically might as well have just had Cyber Dragon in its name. But it is very good in the deck. It allows for certain combos to be better than they ever were. So that card's really nice. Aside from that, we get Cyber Dark Worm and Cyber Jormungandr. These cards are fine. Jormungandr specifically extra fine. Like, this card only does anything going second. If they had just made this card work on either player's turn, and just like, it still has a pretty tough restriction on it when you use it. I don't know why they didn't just make this card able to do what it does on either player's turn. I don't get it. It annoys me to no end, and that's why I probably won't play this card in the main. If you do maybe 1 copy, so you can search it out when you're going second and like apply pressure. But outside of that, it's a brick. It's a brick going first. So yeah. And then Cyber Dark Worm, cool card. Again, kind of a brick. This card allows for combos to be much better, because you actually have a payoff for the Cyber Dark engine. But yeah, you do have to add an additional brick to a deck that already plays bricks. So yeah, that's not ideal. So again, I love Cyber Dragon. It's my favorite anime deck of all time, probably. And I'm in a position where, like, I'm happy it got cards, but we are still in a position where I'm like, come on, Konami, please don't be done. You cannot treat it like one of the most popular anime decks of all time like this. Give them one more wave. So I'm hoping this isn't the end of it. I hope they get something, even if it's indirect support. We just saw how like Punk got one more card in a core set, even though it wasn't direct support. It was a generic card, but it specifically worked really well with them. Hoping maybe something like that can save the deck, but man, it needs something. It needs something else. I'm still going to mess with it, even with what it has here, but it needs to go to the next level. Number 3 on the list, Sharks. This one's been on the list for like almost a calendar year, I feel like. Every time there's been like cool Shark support, they then give more cool Shark support. Or we've also been waiting for Tachyon for forever. So the big things I've been waiting on, obviously now, 7th Tachyon. We've been waiting on this since June of last year is when Animation Chronicle dropped this. Was this? Oh no, I'm sorry. Duelist of Brilliance. This was in Duelist of Brilliance. But again, a similar timeline. They came out pretty close to each other. So we're waiting. We waited almost 9 months to get this card. So this is a much needed consistency boost to the main deck for this deck. That's been one of the issues I've had with it. You have 3 really good monsters in the main deck for Sharks, and no search cards for the most part, unless you want to play jank stuff like Small World and archetype and searchers like that, and then stuff like the Primite engine and just like other weird engines that just it would have just been better if we could have just had 7th Tachyon this whole time. Now, there may be a price barrier behind this card, and if they don't choose to reprint 7th Ascension in the Mesa Master, we'll be in a sticky situation, but I have hope. The other card that's kind of cool is Vice Shark. This is another shark that literally just got revealed last week. It's an interesting card. I think there's a world where this could be a fun one of in the deck, but I'm not as worried about this one. Once we get Tachyon, and once I can personally get my hands on Tachyon and Ascension, uh, I'll probably pick up the deck and start playing it. I won't worry as much. This card will be a card down the line where I'm like, oh, that could be a cool one of that allows for new cool lines or something. But outside of that, it's mainly the Tachyon thing. So been on the list forever. Its time is coming though. All right, next up, number 2. So these are my top 2. Dragonmaid. I never really played Dragonmaid when it had its run a couple of years ago, but I really appreciate the way it plays. The way it plays is so cool, so down to the ground. It does not do anything crazy impressive turn 1 unless you're trying to play like a crazy Dragon Link like combo variant. That is not the variant I'll be playing, but they get a really awesome new wave of support. The best card, the main card that they got is Lady's Dragonmaid. This fusion card is insane. It forces an interruption for your opponent on summon, and then it's also still going to be an Omni Negate on your opponent's turn. That's how good it is. And you basically make this with the same requirement of like a very conditional Link 1. So this card is very easy to make. You do have to set up specific names on field and in grave, but as far as what you give up on field, it is just one monster. So this card is very free and very strong, and I love that. I love that for a deck that just doesn't do much turn 1. And this card, for what it does, is really strong, but it's not like it leads you to like a crazy wombo combo board with 7 interactions. It leads you to like an Omni plus Spheres is like normally where you're headed with this, which I think is still pretty freaking fair. So I like this so much. They also get Stern, which is the main deck edition they also needed. This card's really nice as a big main deck Dragonmaid. Really important extender for the deck. And then Phileas Regis. This is another just additional boss monster that the deck can make pretty easily. So that's cool. Just a nice alternate target as far as your fusion summons go. You could make the Omni in by making Shao, but if an Omni is not necessarily what you want, or you already put up a Shao, you may want to make this because this gives you a quick banish, which is still a really strong interruption, especially when you pair them together. Like you might just want variants on your end board. Yeah, so this card's cool as well. All right, final archetype, Gem Knights. This one's so weird for me. I've hated Gem Knights forever. The only times I've ever played against Gem Knights, it sucks. Just like playing against any FTK deck sucks because you either draw the hand traps and just they don't play at all, basically, or they don't get to anything meaningful and you just win for free, or you didn't draw enough hand traps and you just lose on the spot. Either way, nobody's playing, right? Like the duels are dumb. Like there's no back and forth. Fast forward to Terminal World 2 last year. And Konami gives Gem Knight such a cool, awesome wave of support that just gives them good engine cards that are too good not to play, but also lock them out of doing FTK stuff anymore. They cut the damage they're ever able to do to the opponent, so there's no point in doing FTK stuff because you're just never burning them enough to kill. And now they're just like a really cool mid-range strategy. They have really powerful individual engine cards. They have like really no end board pieces of their own. They have Hollow Core, which Engrave will show him. Engrave, he's like an Omni Negate if you like control a Gem Knight fusion on field. But like outside of that, that's the only thing they set up. So they're going to be ending on IP Mascarenas. They're going to be playing the Fiendsmith package to just make Desiree and stuff. And they're going to, maybe even play Silhouette Rabbit or something. I don't know. A Bawaku, like generic end board pieces. But the end is just cool. The end is just good. And I like it. It's just a fun mid-range deck. And I can't wait to play them. Like, this is one of the craziest turnarounds I've ever seen. I've seen archetypes that I was indifferent about, like didn't really care that much about, and it become a deck I like because it gets a really cool new wave. Like literally Kristrons. I really like Kristrons right now, and I was kind of just indifferent to them forever. I never really cared what they were doing. Cool new wave of support. I immediately jumped on board and was like, yeah, that's all right. I'm in. I love the way it plays now. But I've never seen a deck that I hated. Like every single time I've ever played against Gem Knights, you roll, you do the eye roll because you're playing somebody playing FTK and you're like, oh, brother, here comes a stupid round where either I'm kicking your ass or you're kicking mine. There's no in between. There's no good duels happening here. But yeah, they get crazy cards. Holocore is a really good extender that gives them an Omni on their end board. Neparim is the new best starter in the deck for monsters. Dispersion is either a good fusion card or a Rhoda. And you can use both effects in the same turn. So if you draw 2, you're good. Crazy. That card's crazy. And then Gem Knight Master Diamond Dispersion. Really good card. He allows you to just cheat out up to 3 Gem Knight monsters from your extra deck. It's really good. Yeah, and I can't wait to play the deck. Honestly, I'm really excited to mess with them. It's crazy that like if you had told me a year ago, like Gem Knights is going to be one of your favorite decks to play in next year, I'd be like, shut up, dude. What are you talking about? But yeah. So there you go. Those are Just Nuts's. John from Just Nuts's 6 decks he's most looking forward to, and a couple of honorable mentions that could easily make their way onto this list in the next month, because we're gonna have Yummy, Canine, and Onion's archetypes probably revealed in the next month and a half, and then we'll see about Ancient Fairy Dragons next wave. So any of those could also join on. Maybe all of them do, and we have a full 10 archetype list, but we'll have to wait and see until then. But yeah, I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like I said at the beginning of the video, please tell me what archetypes are you most looking forward to as far as future support here that's going to be coming in the next months, foreseeable future. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.